But which cable was it? I'm heading to Nauset Beach near Orleans, Massachusetts. Art was vacationing with his family in this area when they found the cable in 1984.
I wonder what happened to put that piece of cable on this beach on that day.
Art told me that he remembered hearing something about a shipwreck near here a few months before he found the cable.
Hello? Hello, anybody here?
I head to the Orleans Historical Society to meet historian Bonnie Snow.
I'm trying to find out about some kind of boating incident which occurred in 1984 down at Nauset Beach. Do you know of anything?
We had a shipwreck, a freighter that came ashore.
Do you have any information about that?
Oh, yes, we do. And I will go look it up. And why don't you make yourself comfortable?
Thank you.
There you are.
Thank you.
This is fascinating. It seems that a Maltese freighter named the Eldea found itself in trouble during a violent spring storm in 1984.
This is just a couple of months before our guy, Art, visited the beach.
With winds topping 80 miles an hour, the Eldea, despite weighing close to 10,000 tons, was helpless. The ship slammed into Nauset Beach. Luckily, all 23 crew members were saved.
Listen to this. After the beach was cleared of the vessel, several feet of heavy cable was discovered in the sand. Further investigation revealed that when the Eldea dropped both her anchors, she snagged a telegraph cable of the French cable company.
In all of my research into Art's cable, this is the first I've heard of the French cable company. Bonnie suggests that I visit a small museum run by local volunteers in Orleans. I'm meeting the museum president.
How you doing?
Hi, I'm Jack Barrett. What can I do for you?
I'm Takufu. I'm trying to find out about this cable.
Well, we have quite a bit of cable around here. This was the active telegraph station.
Jack tells me that the French cable company ran at least 3 transatlantic cables to the coast of Massachusetts in the late 19th century.
In 1898, they laid a cable directly to Brest, France. It was the longest cable ever laid at that time.
It was also the first transatlantic cable that did not require a relay stop in the Atlantic provinces of Canada.
This was really the first direct connection from the United States to Europe. Why don't we go into the operations room and we can show you actually how the equipment operated.
Let's do it.
Okay?
So how did this work?
Well, when they were sending a message, it was coming through a small copper wire that's over 3,000 miles long. The electrical energy received at this end was just strong enough to move this hollow glass tube known as a siphon pen.
Wow, that's very thin.
Jack tells me different electrical signals sent over the cable would move the pin in opposite directions.
If the pen wrote up, that was a dot in Morse code. If it wrote down, that was a dash. Things were not as clearly marked as you might expect.
Now, my piece of cable was found in 1984. Have you ever seen anything like this?
Oh, yeah. That looks suspiciously like a piece of cable we have in the other room.
Can we compare them?
Well, let's do it right now.
Look at that.
This is the cable that most closely resembles your cable.
Wow.
We see in the center the same 7-stranded copper wire. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty good match.
So my piece of cable washed up with the Eldea in 1984 off of Nauset Beach. Could this have been part of the cable that stretched all the way to France?
I doubt it. The direct line from France came right through here.
Jack explains that the direct line entered the Orleans town cove from the northeast. Art's cable was found several miles to the south on Nauset Beach.
Because of this location, your cable couldn't have been part of the cable going directly to France.
Really?
What Jack says next explains exactly what Art found on the beach.
I can confirm that this is a piece of submarine cable from the 19th century.
No kidding. That's really interesting.
This cable was some really important stuff when you think of it. It was part of a communication revolution.
But I tell Art that figuring out which cable it was took a little doing.
And I was able to find an answer for you after visiting a little museum in Orleans, Massachusetts.
I explained that because of where the cable was found, it was not a piece of the cable built in 1898 that went directly from Orleans to France.
So what was my piece of cable part of?
Jack tells me that Art's section was likely from an 1899 relay cable laid from Orleans to New York City.
This is really an extension of this whole direct connection to France.
That connection was an amazing part of history. Jack explains that during World War I, encoded orders to General John Pershing's army in Europe were sent from Washington via New York City, passing through Art's section of cable on their way to France.
They were important enough that we had the Marine station here during World War I to make sure that this was not interrupted by any sabotage.
So your piece of cable was historically significant. It played an important role economically, politically, and militarily for the United States in its relationship with Europe.
Wow, that's great. Great news. It's wonderful because we've had this artifact knocking around the house for so many years, and we never really knew the story of it, and now we do.
During the first half of the 20th century, the French cable carried thousands of messages, including news of Charles Lindbergh's successful transatlantic flight and the German invasion of France during World War II. But soon other technologies, like wireless telegraphy, began competing with submarine telegraph cable. And in 1956, the first transatlantic telephone cable was laid, a technology that swiftly made telegraph cables obsolete. The French cable sent its final message on November 24, 1959.
To see more images of the heroic efforts to lay the first transatlantic cable, visit History Detectives on the web at pbs.org.